How to survive as an elderly person in a village. There was a time when growing old did not mean moving into a comfortable apartment, calling a taxi, ordering food from a phone, or having a doctor only a few minutes away. For many elderly people living in villages, life was much simpler. But simple did not always mean easy. An old person living in a village had to understand the weather, protect their food, collect water, maintain their home, grow something to eat, prepare for winter, avoid injuries, and, most importantly, know when they needed help. They did not survive because they were stronger. They survived because they learned how to prepare. And many of those lessons are still useful today. Imagine an elderly man living alone in a small village. His house is surrounded by farmland. There is a small garden behind the house, a few chickens walking around the yard, some firewood stacked against the wall, and a water container near the kitchen. He wakes up before sunrise. The village is quiet. There is no traffic, no phone notifications, no busy streets, only birds, animals, wind, and the sound of someone opening a wooden door somewhere nearby. He slowly gets out of bed. For a younger person, standing up may take only a few seconds. For an elderly person, that same movement requires care. A sudden movement can cause dizziness or loss of balance. So the first survival lesson is simple. Never rush. Take your time. Sit up first. Take a moment. Make sure you feel steady. Then stand. This small habit can prevent a dangerous fall, and for an elderly person, preventing an accident is often more important than knowing how to deal with one afterward. Chapter 1. Water. The first thing every village household needs is water. Without water, almost everything becomes difficult. Cooking, cleaning, drinking, taking medicine, washing, feeding animals, growing vegetables. In many villages, water may come from a well, hand pump, spring, river, or community supply. But an elderly person should never depend completely on a single source. If the pump breaks, if the electricity goes out, if the well becomes difficult to access, or if bad weather makes the journey dangerous, having stored water can make a huge difference. Water should be kept in clean, covered containers. The containers should be easy enough to handle. This is important. A huge container may hold more water, but if an elderly person cannot safely lift it, it becomes useless. Instead, smaller containers can be filled and stored where they are easy to reach. The water storage area should also be kept clean. Never store drinking water next to chemicals, fuel, pesticides, or other dangerous substances. And if the safety of the water source is uncertain, it should be treated appropriately before drinking. The goal is not to collect as much water as possible. The goal is to make clean water available without creating another danger. An elderly person should also plan the route to the water source. If the path is steep, slippery, muddy, or full of loose stones, it may become dangerous. A simple walking stick can provide extra stability. Better still, ask a neighbor for help with heavy containers. There is no shame in asking. Survival is not about proving that you can do everything alone. It is about staying safe. Chapter 2. Food. The next problem is food. A village may have farms everywhere, but that does not mean food is automatically available. Growing food requires planning. An elderly person should focus on crops that are useful, familiar, and manageable. A small garden can be surprisingly valuable. Tomatoes, onions, potatoes, beans, peas, leafy vegetables, herbs. These foods can provide variety without requiring a huge farm. But the garden should be designed around the person's physical abilities. There is no point creating a massive field that requires hours of hard labor if the person cannot safely maintain it. A smaller garden that can actually be managed is much better. Raised planting areas can sometimes reduce the need to bend down. Tools should have comfortable handles. Frequently used items should be kept close, and gardening should be divided into short tasks. Instead of working continuously for several hours, work for a manageable period and rest. The objective is not maximum production. The objective is dependable production. Chapter 3. Food storage. Growing food is only half the job. The other half is keeping it. Imagine a bad week, heavy rain, a damaged road, a broken vehicle, a sick family member, a market that cannot be reached. If the home has no stored food, a simple inconvenience can quickly become a serious problem. That is why traditional village households often stored food for difficult periods: grains, rice, beans, flour, dried vegetables, potatoes, onions, salt, other foods with long storage lives. The exact foods depend on the region and climate, but the principle is universal. Do not wait until the emergency begins to prepare. Store food before you need it. Food should be kept dry, clean, protected from insects and rodents, and regularly checked. Old supplies should be used first, while newer supplies replace them. This simple rotation prevents food from being forgotten until it becomes unusable. And an elderly person should not store everything in one place. If one storage area becomes damaged by water, insects, fire, or another problem, having everything there could result in losing the entire supply. Chapter 4: Firewood and Heat. Then comes the cold. Winter can transform a peaceful village into a difficult environment. The same path that was easy to walk in summer can become muddy, icy, or covered with snow. The same house that felt comfortable during the day can become extremely cold at night. For this reason, winter preparation should begin before winter arrives. Firewood should be collected early if wood is the traditional heating source. It should be stored somewhere dry and safely accessible. Do not wait until the coldest night to discover that there is not enough fuel. But there is another important rule. Fire is useful only when it is controlled. A heating fire should never be left unattended. Smoke and carbon monoxide can be extremely dangerous. Ventilation and appropriate heating equipment matter. An elderly person should have a simple plan for what to do if the heating system fails. Warm clothing, blankets, dry bedding, extra food, safe lighting, and a way to contact someone for help. Staying warm is not about making a huge fire. It is about preparing the entire home. Chapter 5: Making the home safe for an elderly person. The home itself can become one of the biggest dangers. A broken step that a young person ignores can cause a serious injury to an older person. A loose rug, a dark hallway, a slippery floor, a bucket left in a walking path, a badly placed chair, a damaged roof. Small problems can create big consequences. So one of the best survival strategies is to inspect the house regularly. Walk slowly through every room. Look at the floor. Look at the stairs. Check the doors. Check the windows. Check the roof. Look for water leaks. Look for loose boards. Look for anything that could cause someone to trip. Lighting is especially important. The path from the bedroom to the bathroom should be easy to see at night. A simple light can be more valuable than an expensive piece of equipment. Furniture should be positioned so there is enough space to walk. Frequently used items should not be stored on very high shelves. Heavy objects should be kept somewhere accessible. The safest home is not necessarily the strongest home. It is the home designed around the person living inside it. Chapter 6: Walking safely. Walking is one of the most important skills for maintaining independence. But an elderly person should recognize that balance can change with age. Village paths can contain mud, stones, holes, roots, water, and uneven surfaces. So walking should be deliberate. Good footwear matters. A walking stick may help provide stability. During bad weather, unnecessary trips should be avoided. And if a person feels weak, dizzy, or unstable, stopping is better than trying to continue. One of the biggest mistakes an elderly person can make is believing, "I have walked this road for 50 years, so nothing can happen." Experience helps, but experience does not eliminate risk. Conditions change, bodies change, weather changes. The safest approach is to respect both. Chapter 7: Animals. Animals can be extremely useful in village life. Chickens can provide eggs. Goats may provide milk. Other animals can provide food, materials, or companionship. But animals also require physical work. An elderly person should keep only the animals they can safely manage. A large animal that constantly requires heavy lifting or difficult handling may become a burden. Animal areas should be organized. Feed should be stored safely. Water should be accessible. The paths should remain clear. And animals should be handled carefully. A frightened animal can injure even a strong person. For an elderly person, the consequences can be much worse. The goal is to benefit from animals without allowing them to create unnecessary danger. Chapter 8. Basic Health Preparation. One of the hardest parts of rural living can be distance from medical care. A village may be peaceful, but a clinic or hospital may be far away. That means preparation matters. Important medication should be managed carefully according to medical instructions. Essential health supplies should be organized. A small first aid kit can contain basic items such as clean bandages, antiseptic supplies, and other appropriate essentials. Important medical information should be easy to find. If an emergency happens, family members or neighbors should know where important information is kept. The person should also know how to reach medical assistance. A phone should be charged. Emergency contacts should be saved, and if mobile coverage is unreliable, the household should know which nearby person can help communicate during an emergency. This is not fear. This is preparation. Chapter 9. The power of neighbors. Perhaps the most important survival resource in a village is not food, not firewood, not water. It is community. For thousands of years, people survived difficult environments by helping each other. An elderly person should know the people living nearby. Who has a vehicle? Who can bring medicine? Who can repair a roof? Who can collect water? Who can check on the house during a storm? Who can help if someone falls? These relationships can save lives, and help should work both ways. An elderly person may not be able to carry heavy objects, but they may have knowledge, experience, advice, or skills that younger people do not have. A village works best when generations help each other. The old can teach, the young can assist. Everyone benefits. Chapter 10. Preparing for bad weather. Weather can change quickly. Heavy rain can turn roads into mud. Strong winds can damage roofs. Extreme heat can cause dehydration. Cold weather can create dangerous conditions, so an elderly person should pay attention to weather warnings and local conditions. Before a storm, secure loose objects outside. Check the roof. Bring important items indoors. Keep drinking water available. Keep essential medications and documents protected. Charge communication devices. And make sure someone knows that the elderly person is at home. During extreme weather, staying indoors may be safer than traveling. Do not take unnecessary risks just to complete a normal daily task. A garden can wait. A market trip can wait. A repair can wait. Safety comes first. Chapter 11. Nighttime. Night changes the village. Paths become difficult to see. Animals move around. The temperature drops. And an elderly person's balance may be less reliable in darkness. A reliable flashlight or lantern should be easy to reach. It should not be hidden in a cupboard across the house. Keep it somewhere you can find immediately. A backup light can also be useful. The route to the bathroom should remain clear. Doors should be secured appropriately. And unnecessary outdoor trips should be avoided. If something outside can wait until morning, let it wait. There is no prize for walking around a dark village at midnight. Chapter 12. Money and essential supplies. Survival also depends on financial planning. An elderly person should avoid spending everything on unnecessary items while having no reserve for emergencies. Keep essential household supplies organized. Know what needs to be purchased regularly. Plan market trips. Buy durable essentials when they are reasonably available, but avoid excessive hoarding. The goal is a practical reserve, not a room filled with unused products. A simple written list can help. Food, water, heating fuel, personal necessities, medical essentials, important household repairs. Keeping track of these items makes it easier to notice when something is running low. Chapter 13. Learning to rest. One lesson many older people struggle with is accepting their physical limits. For decades, they may have worked from sunrise to sunset. They may have carried heavy loads, worked in fields, built houses, raised children, managed animals. But aging changes the body. That does not mean a person becomes useless. It means the strategy has to change. Work smarter, not harder. Divide difficult tasks. Use tools. Ask for help. Take breaks. Do important jobs during daylight and good weather. Leave unnecessary work for another day. Rest is not laziness. Rest is part of survival. Chapter 14, Keeping the Mind Active. Survival is not only physical. Loneliness can be a serious problem for an elderly person living in a remote village. A person can have food and water and still feel isolated. Talking with neighbors helps. Visiting family helps. Teaching younger people old skills helps. Reading, writing, gardening, music, religious or cultural activities, and simple hobbies can give structure to the day. A routine can be powerful. Wake up, eat breakfast, check the house, take care of animals, work in the garden, rest, prepare food, talk with someone, prepare for the evening. A predictable routine reduces confusion and helps a person notice when something is wrong. Chapter 15, Traditional Knowledge. Older villagers often possess knowledge that cannot easily be replaced. They know which paths flood first. They know when certain crops should be planted. They know where water can sometimes be found. They understand local weather patterns. They know how to preserve certain foods. They know which repairs a house needs before winter. This knowledge should not disappear. Write it down. Teach it to younger family members. Record important information. Pass it on. A village survives not only through physical resources, but through accumulated knowledge. Chapter 16, Emergency Planning. Every elderly person should have a simple emergency plan. Not a complicated document, just a few clear answers. Where will I go if the house becomes unsafe? Who will I call? Who lives closest? Where are my important documents? Where are my essential supplies? How will I get medical help? What happens if the electricity fails? What happens if the road becomes blocked? What happens if I cannot walk safely? These questions should be answered before the emergency, because during an emergency, thinking becomes harder. Preparation turns confusion into action. Chapter 17, the most important rule there is one rule that connects everything. Do not wait for a problem to become an emergency. Repair the roof before the storm. Collect firewood before winter. Store water before the pump breaks. Buy necessary supplies before the roads become dangerous. Ask for help before the task becomes impossible. Prepare food before you run out. And tell someone when you are not feeling well. The best survival strategy is prevention. Chapter 18, A Day in the Life. Now imagine that same elderly villager again. The sun is rising. He wakes slowly. He sits on the edge of his bed. He waits until he feels steady. Then he stands. He opens the door. Fresh morning air enters the room. The chickens are already moving around the yard. He checks his water supply. He checks the weather. He looks at the garden. He does not try to finish everything at once. He waters the plants. Then he rests. Later, he feeds the animals. He prepares a simple breakfast. He checks the firewood. He looks around the house. Is anything broken? Is anything leaking? Is anything blocking the walking path? He notices a loose board. Instead of ignoring it, he marks it for repair. A neighbor passes by. They talk for a few minutes. The neighbor asks if everything is okay. He says yes, but he also mentions the loose board. The neighbor offers to help repair it later. This is what survival really looks like. It is not dramatic. There are no explosions, no heroic battles, no impossible challenges. It is simply one small decision after another. Prepare, check, rest, repair, store, ask, help, repeat. Chapter 19, When help is needed, there is also a point where independence should not become stubbornness. If an elderly person is injured, suddenly confused, extremely weak, having difficulty breathing, experiencing severe chest pain, or facing another serious medical emergency, professional medical assistance should be sought immediately. Trying to solve every problem alone can turn a manageable situation into a dangerous one. Knowing when to call for help is itself a survival skill. A strong person is not someone who refuses help. A strong person knows when help is necessary. Chapter 20, The Real Meaning of Survival. When people hear the word survival, they often imagine wilderness, mountains, forests, deserts, storms, but survival can happen anywhere, even in a quiet village. For an elderly person, survival is often about maintaining independence while understanding limitations. It is about keeping the home safe, having food, having water, staying warm, protecting health, maintaining relationships, preparing for bad weather, and never being too proud to ask for help. The village itself can become part of the safety system. A neighbor can become a lifeline. A garden can become a food source. A walking stick can become protection against a fall. A small food reserve can become security during a difficult week. And simple preparation can make the difference between a problem and a disaster. Growing old does not mean that life has to stop. It means the way we live has to evolve. The strongest survival skill is not strength. It is wisdom. Knowing what matters, knowing what can wait, knowing what must be prepared, and knowing when another person should be called. Because, in the end, the elderly person who survives village life successfully is not the one who does everything alone. It is the one who understands the environment, respects their own limits, prepares before problems arrive, and stays connected to the people around them. That is how generations survived before modern conveniences. And those lessons are still valuable today, not because life should return to the past, but because sometimes the simplest lessons from the past are the ones that help us prepare for the future. How to Survive an Elderly Person in a Village, Part 2, Chapter 21. The village is your environment. An elderly person living in a village needs to understand something very important. The village is not simply a place where the house is located. The entire environment becomes part of daily life. The road, the fields, the trees, the water source, the animals, the weather, the neighbors. Even the time of day can affect how safely a person moves through the village. A road that looks harmless in the morning may become dangerous after heavy rain. A field that is easy to cross during daylight can become difficult after sunset. A water source that has always been reliable may suddenly become unavailable. This is why observation is such an important survival skill. Before doing anything, look around. What is the weather doing? Is the ground dry? Is the path clear? Are there animals nearby? Is the task really necessary today? These simple questions can prevent unnecessary problems. An elderly person does not need to defeat the environment. They need to understand it. Chapter 22. Learn the safest routes. Every village has several ways to reach the same destination. One path may be shorter, another may be safer. An elderly person should learn which routes are safest. The shortest route is not always the best route. A path with fewer steep sections may be worth taking even if it takes 10 extra minutes. A road with better lighting may be safer after sunset. A wider path may be easier when carrying something. A route near houses may provide more opportunities to ask for help. Over time, these routes become part of a person's survival map. You do not need a sophisticated map. You simply need to know, where is the safest path? Where are the dangerous areas? Where can I rest? Where can I find people? Where can I get help? Knowledge of the local environment becomes especially valuable during bad weather. Chapter 23. Keep essential items close. One common mistake is storing important things too far away. An elderly person may keep their flashlight in a storage room. Their phone may be charging in another building. Their walking stick may be outside. Their shoes may be somewhere difficult to reach. This creates unnecessary risk. Important everyday items should be kept where they can be reached easily. A phone, a flashlight, glasses, necessary medications, water, walking support, emergency contact information. The idea is simple. If something goes wrong, the person should not have to search the entire house to find what they need. Organization becomes a survival tool. Chapter 24. The morning check. A simple morning inspection can prevent many problems. After waking up, look outside. Check the weather. Look at the condition of the path. Check the animals. Check the water supply. Check the house. Is there any unusual smell? Any water leak? Any damaged wall? Any broken window? Anything unusual around the property? This does not need to take more than a few minutes, but these few minutes can reveal a problem while it is still small. A small roof leak is easier to fix than a damaged ceiling. A nearly empty water container is easier to refill than an empty one during an emergency. A sick animal is easier to manage when noticed early. The habit is simple. Observe first. Act second. Chapter 25. Learning to use simple tools. Modern technology can be useful, but simple tools remain valuable in rural life. A strong walking stick, a comfortable hand tool, a lightweight bucket, A small flashlight, a good pair of shoes, a simple stool, a sturdy chair. These objects may seem ordinary, but the right tool can reduce physical effort significantly. An elderly person should not choose tools simply because they are traditional. Choose tools that make work safer. If a tool is too heavy, replace it. If a handle is uncomfortable, improve it. If reaching a high shelf requires climbing, move the items. Survival often comes down to reducing unnecessary physical effort. Chapter 26, Never Climb When You Can Avoid It. One of the most dangerous habits for older people is climbing onto unstable objects. A chair, a bucket, a box, a pile of wood, something that looks stable, may move unexpectedly. If an item is stored too high, ask someone to bring it down. Better yet, reorganize the storage areas so frequently used items remain within comfortable reach. A few seconds of convenience are not worth a serious fall. The best solution is prevention. Chapter 27, Safe Farming. Farming can keep an elderly person active. It provides food, movement, purpose, and connection to the land. But farming should change as the body changes. Heavy digging may need to be reduced. Large loads should be divided into smaller ones. Long periods of bending should be avoided. Work should be done during comfortable temperatures. Hot midday conditions can be especially difficult. Take breaks. Drink appropriate amounts of safe water. Wear suitable clothing. Protect yourself from excessive sun exposure. And stop when your body tells you to stop. A garden should support your life. Your life should not be sacrificed for the garden. Chapter 28, Hot Weather. Winter is not the only dangerous season. Extreme heat can also become a serious challenge. During very hot weather, an elderly person should avoid unnecessary outdoor work during the hottest part of the day. Outdoor tasks can often be moved to early morning or later evening when conditions are more comfortable. Water should be available. The house should have as much ventilation and cooling as safely possible. Light clothing can help, and if someone becomes unusually weak, confused, faint, or seriously unwell in extreme heat, they should seek medical assistance. Heat can become dangerous faster than many people realize. Chapter 29, Rain and Flooding. Rain changes the village quickly. Dry dirt becomes mud. Small streams become stronger. Low roads may become difficult to cross. Water may enter homes. An elderly person should never underestimate familiar terrain during heavy rain. The same path used every day can become unsafe. If flooding is possible, important belongings should be moved to safer locations. Documents should be protected from water. Food should be kept above areas where water could reach. Electrical hazards should be taken seriously, and if local authorities or emergency services advise evacuation, that advice should be followed. The goal is not to prove that you can stay. The goal is to stay alive. Chapter 30, Protecting Important Documents. Documents are easy to ignore until they are needed. Identity documents, property papers, medical information, emergency contacts, banking information, important family records. If these are lost during a flood, fire, or other emergency, replacing them can be difficult. Keep important documents organized in a secure, protected location. Where appropriate, copies can also be stored safely elsewhere. Family members should know where essential documents can be found. The less confusion there is during an emergency, the better. Chapter 31, The Firewood System. Instead of collecting firewood whenever the supply becomes low, create a system. Use older dry wood first. Keep newer wood protected from rain. Stack it somewhere stable. Keep enough space around the storage area. Do not create a pile that can collapse. Do not place firewood where it blocks doors or walking paths. The goal is to make heating fuel easy to access without creating another hazard. A good system turns a difficult task into a routine. Chapter 32, Cooking Safely. Cooking is one of the most common daily activities in a village home, but cooking fires and hot surfaces can be dangerous. Keep flammable materials away from flames. Do not leave cooking unattended when there is a significant fire risk. Keep handles positioned safely. Avoid carrying very heavy pots. If a pot is too heavy, divide the contents. Keep the kitchen floor dry, and make sure smoke can escape safely. A small kitchen accident can become serious very quickly. Chapter 33, Storing Medicine Correctly. Medicine should be organized. An elderly person may have several different medications or health-related supplies. Confusion can happen when containers look similar. Keeping medicines in their original labeled containers and following the prescribed instructions can reduce mistakes. Do not take someone else's medicine simply because they say it worked for them. Do not change prescribed treatment without appropriate medical guidance. And keep medicines stored according to their instructions. If something is confusing, ask a healthcare professional or trusted caregiver for clarification. Good organization is part of safety. Chapter 34, The Role of Family can make village life much safer. But family members may not always live nearby. That is why communication matters. A simple routine can help: a daily call, a message, a neighbor checking in, a relative visiting regularly. The exact method does not matter as much as consistency. If an elderly person normally communicates every day and suddenly stops, someone may notice that something is wrong. This is especially useful for people living alone. Chapter 35, Create a check-in system. Imagine an elderly person lives alone. Every morning, they send a simple message to a family member. Good morning, everything is fine. If the message does not arrive by a certain time, the family member contacts them. If there is no response, a nearby neighbor can check. This creates a simple safety network. It does not require expensive technology. It requires communication. The people involved should agree on what to do if the person does not respond. That way, everyone understands the plan before an emergency happens. Chapter 36, Know Your Limits. There is a dangerous sentence that many older people say: I can still do it. Sometimes they can, sometimes they cannot. Knowing the difference is extremely important. If a task requires lifting something very heavy, ask for help. If a roof requires climbing, hire or ask someone capable. If a large tree needs cutting, do not attempt it alone. If an electrical repair is dangerous, use a qualified professional. If a medical problem is serious, seek medical care. Independence does not mean refusing every form of assistance. True independence means making responsible decisions. Chapter 37, The Value of Routine. A routine gives structure to village life. Morning, water, breakfast, garden, animals, rest, lunch, small household tasks. Rest again, evening meal, check the doors, prepare for the night. Sleep. The exact routine will differ from person to person, but predictable habits make it easier to notice changes. If the person suddenly cannot complete a normal task, that can be a warning sign. Routine also reduces unnecessary decisions, and when energy is limited, reducing unnecessary effort is valuable. Chapter 38, Keeping the Village Connection. An elderly person should avoid becoming completely isolated. Even a short conversation can matter. Talk to neighbors. Attend community events when possible. Visit relatives. Share food. Exchange information. Ask about weather. Discuss crops. Help younger people learn traditional skills. These interactions create connections, and those connections become important during difficult moments. The person who knows everyone in the village is rarely completely alone. Chapter 39, Teaching the Next Generation. Imagine an elderly farmer teaching a young person how to recognize good soil, or showing them how food was traditionally stored, or explaining how to prepare a garden for winter, or describing which local paths become dangerous after heavy rain. This knowledge is valuable. Every generation has something to teach. The elderly may not have modern technology, but they possess something else: experience. Experience is accumulated over decades. It should be shared before it disappears. Chapter 40, Surviving Without Panic. Emergencies create fear. Fear can make people move too quickly. That is dangerous. If something goes wrong, stop. Think, look around. Identify the immediate danger. Move away from it if necessary. Contact someone. Follow the emergency plan. Do not waste valuable time panicking. An elderly person may not be able to move as quickly as a younger person. That makes preparation even more important. The goal is to act early, not fast. Early. Chapter 41, When the power goes out, electricity can fail because of storms, equipment problems, or other causes. An elderly household should be prepared for temporary outages. Keep flashlights available. Keep important devices charged. Have safe lighting options. Know how to access necessary information without relying completely on electricity. If refrigeration is affected, understand how to handle food safely. Do not use unsafe indoor fuel-burning equipment as a substitute for electricity. A power outage is inconvenient. With preparation, it does not have to become a disaster. Chapter 42, Keep the path clear. Walking paths should be inspected regularly. Remove unnecessary objects. Trim plants that block the walkway. Repair uneven surfaces where possible. Keep tools and buckets away from paths. Make sure steps are visible. During rain, pay attention to slippery surfaces. At night, provide adequate lighting. The path between the bedroom, kitchen, bathroom, and outside door is especially important. These are places an elderly person may need to access quickly. Chapter 43, Safe water during emergencies. If the normal water supply becomes unavailable, do not automatically assume that nearby water is safe. Streams and ponds can contain harmful contamination. Clear-looking water is not necessarily safe drinking water. Use a known safe source whenever possible. If emergency water treatment is required, follow reliable public health guidance for the specific method. Water is essential, but unsafe water can create another emergency. Chapter 44, Preparing before winter. Winter preparation should begin weeks or months before the coldest weather. Inspect the roof. Check doors and windows. Repair drafts where appropriate. Prepare warm clothing. Organize blankets. Store suitable food. Prepare heating fuels safely. Check lighting. Plan how medical needs will be handled if roads become difficult. Think about transportation. Think about communication. Think about neighbors. Winter should never arrive as a surprise. Chapter 45, A small emergency bag. An elderly person can keep a small emergency bag ready. It can contain essential personal information, basic supplies, a flashlight, communication equipment, appropriate medications according to medical instructions, water, and other necessities relevant to the household. The bag should not be so heavy that the person cannot carry it. The purpose is simple. If the house suddenly becomes unsafe, essential items are already together. Preparation reduces confusion. Chapter 46, Learning from past mistakes. Older people often remember difficult winters, floods, droughts, crop failures, power outages, illnesses, road closures. These memories are valuable. Ask, what went wrong last time? What did we not have? What should we have prepared earlier? What worked? What failed? The best survival lessons often come from previous problems. Do not simply remember the hardship. Remember the lesson. Chapter 47, Do not waste resources. Village survival also means using resources wisely. Food should not be unnecessarily wasted. Water should not be left running. Firewood should not be burned carelessly. Tools should be maintained. Clothing should be repaired when practical. Containers can often be reused for appropriate purposes. Waste less. Maintain more. A resource that is available today may be difficult to replace tomorrow. Chapter 48, The importance of cleanliness. Clean surroundings reduce many everyday problems. Keep food areas clean. Keep drinking water containers clean. Remove waste appropriately. Keep animal areas maintained. Wash hands when appropriate. Keep cooking equipment clean. A clean home is not simply about appearance. It supports safer living. Small daily habits can have large effects over time. Chapter 49, Survival is a system. At this point, something becomes clear. There is no single survival trick. There is a system. Water, food, shelter, heat, health, mobility, communication, community, preparation. Each part supports the others. If one area becomes weak, another may compensate. If water is difficult to access, neighbors may help. If farming becomes difficult, stored food provides support. If an elderly person becomes less mobile, the home can be reorganized. If weather becomes dangerous, preparation reduces the need to travel. This is what resilience looks like. Chapter 50, The final lesson. Imagine the village again. The sun is setting. The elderly man sits outside his home. The garden is quiet. The animals are settling down. Firewood is stored. Water is available. Food is prepared. The doors are secure. The path is clear. His phone is charged. His family knows he is safe. A neighbor lives nearby. Nothing dramatic is happening, and that is exactly the point. Successful survival does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like a quiet evening, a safe house, a warm meal, a glass of clean water, a familiar voice from a neighbor, a garden that provides food, a routine that brings peace. The greatest survival skill is preparation, not fear, not strength, not isolation. Preparation. An elderly person can remain independent for many years when they understand their environment, respect their physical limits, maintain a safe home, store essential resources, and stay connected to other people. Village life may be difficult, but it also offers something modern life sometimes loses: community, self-reliance, knowledge, patience, and the ability to live with what is available. The old ways were not perfect, but they taught an important lesson. You do not need everything. You need enough. Enough food, enough water, enough warmth, enough preparation, enough knowledge, and enough people around you who care. Because when difficult times arrive, survival rarely depends on one extraordinary action. It depends on hundreds of small decisions made before the emergency ever begins. And for an elderly person living in a village, those small decisions can mean the difference between struggling alone and living safely, confidently, and independently.